Hi, and welcome back to another episode of A Spinner's World. My name is Ashley, otherwise known as Spun Too Tight on the internets.
And I'm Dory, Hop Stitching Away.
And this is episode 60-something. It's bad when I don't look it up. I think it's 65.
Well, I was just thinking the other day, I was like, this is going on 2 years for us, almost.
Like what, April? Yep. Today is...
the 16th.
Good, I'm so glad somebody knows. Today is the 16th. It is like 1-ish probably. Probably later than that. We've been talking for a while. And I have a head cold, so, you know.
I'm just tired.
I'm sure
Sorry.
my, intellectualness that comes out today will not be much. A good idea. Now we'll please silence our phones for the duration of this podcast. Because mine makes a lot of noises because I play a lot of games on my phone. And so they like to remind me of things like when I'm ignoring the game. Yeah. I hope everybody in like the southeast has stayed nice and warm. It's been like another week worth of snow and ice crud. I had no power for like 12, 16 hours or so. It was lovely.
I lucked out. My lights only flickered.
Yeah, mine were like on, off for the better part of 3 hours. And then it went off and it stayed off for a long time. And then we have this really old oak tree in the backyard and it started making these crashing, crunching sounds as all of the crap started falling out, the limbs. The trees were coated with ice, so you know they were doing their thing like this. And eventually they fell. So, you know, that was basically my week in a nutshell. But the nice part was I had 2 days where like I was home, so I got a ton of knitting done.
We only had 1 day.
Which day did you get? Thursday? Or Wednesday?
Wednesday.
Yeah, Wednesday was the bad one. It hit that morning at like 6
it was Wednesday because we were originally supposed to have a late opening. The Child Development Center that I work at, our corporate headquarters are in Arizona. So they don't quite get the weather and how unprepared we are. And then our regional director is up in Virginia where they're used to snow. Her area at Virginia used to snow and doesn't realize when you have 1,000 people on the roads that don't know how to drive on ice.
And the fact that they shut all the major bridges down, so if you do have to go to work, you have to drive all the way inland for half an hour, then turn around and drive back down to mainland.
Because where I work is over the main Ravenel Bridge, and
that was down to like Friday morning after rush. It was crazy.
That means Thursday and Friday I got to drive 526. I had to go all.
Good thing they had that one open.
Yeah, well, if they didn't have that one open, we would have been closed because 90% of us work outside of Mount Pleasant.
Last storm, that one shut down.
Yeah.
Yeah, they all like to shut down. So anything finished?
Actually, yes. I was productive the first time we had our ice storms. I actually was
the first ice storm 3 weeks ago.
The week of my birthday because it was the 31st.
That's right.
When I got stuck in that traffic. So, one night sitting at swing dance, I was working the table and I decided I need a hat. And I had this pattern since I first started back into crocheting in like 2000, I think it was, when I started actually teaching myself to look at patterns and stuff. Mm-hmm. And it's sort of a 1920s style cloche. Cloche. I can never pronounce that.
I'm making a cloche too.
And
I'm talking about later, though.
It looks better on, but I still kind of look like a little granny. But I like it. So it's the little hat.
It's so you. It's just...
So hold on, I'll model it for you, shall I?
Oh yes. It's always good to mess up your hair on the podcast.
See, that's my hat. I liked it. It was a really quick, just a couple of hours, and then I think I did this. Let's see, it was Tuesday when we were out that first time. I did this Monday night. And then decided I liked the cloche style so much that I went online and found this pattern. I cannot remember.
And she showed me this one like 2 weeks ago and I was like, that's the one I'm going to knit.
And
it's a knit pattern.
I can't remember the name of the style. It's on Ravelry. It's in my library. I just can't remember the name of the pattern. And I've had this yarn for like 2 years because I knew I wanted to make a hat. I just didn't know what hat. I was like, this would be perfect.
I kind of love those
and
colors.
Sparkly.
I love glitter. Have we talked about that?
And the stitch is actually, it's a cluster stitch, but you kind of have one. I don't know if you can see it real well. The cluster is actually 3 little subclusters, and 2 are kind of at a V, and then 1 is coming on the side. It sounded difficult, and the designer said that it can seem difficult, but it's actually pretty easy. And she has a tutorial, but I stumbled upon the tutorial after I had figured it out. And this is this one. I think this one's my favorite.
I like that one more.
I really like this one.
It's warmer.
I wore it to, oh yes, which is why I wanted this pattern, because this is cute, but not practical.
No, it's kind of got
when it's cold and windy, you know.
It's cute and lacy and great for like spring.
Or the fall, you know. Yeah. And there's a shawl, that pattern that goes along with that I want to make. But I wore this to dance the night after our first snowstorm on February 1st, because I was sitting out there and it was freezing. It was like 40 degrees out with no heat in the lobby. And so I'm sitting there bundled up underneath covers, taking money from people. And everyone kept telling me how cute it was, and they liked it. I even had some men tell me, that is a really cute hat. So, I like it.
They were also amazed at how fast you had worked on it, right?
Yeah, I told them, they said, you just made it? And I said, yeah, I decided I wanted a hat. And they're like, that's just so amazing, the idea that you say, oh, you know, I want a hat. And you knit up a hat or crochet up a hat.
That's the great thing about crochet. It's so quick. Mm-hmm. Although knitted hats aren't too bad either, just because of the fact that hats in general are small.
Well, I want to do, I made a kind of funny face there. I want to do a knitted hat. I just don't have, no, you gave me the circulars, the interchangeable. I was going to say, I just don't have circulars that have a cord that are, or I don't have needles that are big enough. But then I remember
you want to use double pointeds anyways when you usually get down to the tips, especially with those, Denise. Because those Denise will be good for like the body of the hat, but they don't magic loop well.
Excuse me. Someone's thinking about me.
And when I get down to the decreases at the top of the hat, like at the crown, I tend to use double points because those aren't very flexible for magic loop.
I think this is your favorite yarn.
Red Heart?
The homespun.
Oh, no, I hate homespun.
I was being sarcastic.
Gosh.
So this is
I will take Red Heart.
homespun in like garnet or something like that. It's a red color. No, garnet, something, candy hearts, something like that. Some red color. And then this is Red Heart. They're soft, but it's their party soft. It's because it's got the spinkles. The sparkles. And I think I used a size J hook. I can't remember. I changed the size of the hook because my yarn was a little bit thicker than the pattern that they called for. So, and then I just basically, and I knitted it. I didn't quite crochet the amount of rows. I just kept trying it on to see where I wanted. And the pattern that she uses is actually just one color. But I decided, well, one, I didn't have enough of the teal to do the entire hat.
How much teal did it take?
The yarn, the skein is actually a smaller.
Oh, gotcha.
Smaller amount of skein.
Well, it's a party skein.
Yeah. So I wasn't going to have enough to fold it over and make the hat. So I decided I would do this, and I just tried it on to see where I wanted to add the second color. And that's all I have for finished.
That's the beauty of modifying patterns. Mm-hmm. I will say I would take Red Heart over homespun any day. I don't know.
Well,
it's that blue clay yarn I don't like.
Yeah, I was gonna say Red Heart has their version of that is chunky. And the pattern that I have, it was in like a crochet magazine. It was Better Homes and Garden used to put out a crochet magazine.
I have a bunch of those old ones.
And it's their old one, their old fall one. And they actually used the chunky for that. But
yeah. I have some of those old crochet magazines. So they did like one a year. It was like the crochet edition.
Yeah, it was one a year. Mm-hmm.
But wasn't it crochet and knitting? It was like both? Or?
No, this one, they may have started like that, but when I started looking at patterns, they were only doing crochet. Or they had a specific just crochet. Now, they did have a couple of patterns that, now that I know how to knit, I can do. It was crochet and knit. So I'm excited.
You can multitask now. Works in progress.
You go first.
I will start with the spinning related, which is like 1, Knitting works in progress, at least. I am still working on collywobbles. I totally said I was gonna be project monogamous, and I was gonna like. Last time I recorded, I'm like, I have done the math and figured out if I can make 3 squares a day on my Afghan, I can be done by the end of February for our little knit along. I don't know what I was on when I said that. I think it takes me a few hours to make 1 square. Maybe because, I am the person who, I start the thing, I get it out, I knit a little bit, I pick my phone up, I text back and forth, I put my phone down, pick the knitting back up, and so my knitting goes slower. Because I get distracted. And so I figured I'd pull out these, and when I realized the other thing wasn't going to get done, I'm like, I'm going to stop being a bad podcaster and make more than one thing at once. Because if I sit and show you guys the Afghan and only the Afghan for the next, 5 months, you're going to be so sick of this podcast. It's not even going to be funny.
Lose viewers.
Oh, I'm sure. We probably already. I can't even check. It's weird since we switched to Hipcast. I can't check stats very well. I have no idea people are watching. So it'll be like 7,000 views, and I'm like, well, that's a bunch of bull. I know there's no way that's happening. So I don't know what kind of algorithm it's using, but it's a lie. So I pulled out some collywobbles as well. In case you have forgotten, this is the pattern by Emily, Chain of Fools on Ravelry. She's in our group. If you look her up, Chain of Fools, you'll find her patterns. She is so helpful too. I was texting back and forth trying to figure out how to compress the file so I could upload it onto, the website. And she's like, you saw that the limit is now bigger than it used to be, right? And I'm like, I spent 3 days trying to compress this video down. That's why the podcast was so late. And she tells me that they changed it. And the current size that I can upload on Hipcast is basically what I used to upload on Blip. So yay for not losing quality. Although if you download an iTunes, you're gonna be better off because you get the higher quality video. If you watch it on the blog, I've had to upload it to YouTube, and YouTube decompresses the crap out of it. So.
You mean we're on YouTube?
Yeah. Because I can't put it on the blog without it. It's been there for a few months.
Wow. I'm a little bit out of the loop.
Yeah. It cost me $20 a month to keep it going to iTunes, y'all. So we'll see. That's why the prizes for the rest of this year are going to be out of my stash. We're doing one every 2 months, and it's out of my stash. So. This is the collywobbles. It is an awesome slip stitchy pattern thing. I think last time I was about in this yellow zone. Because I think I knit from yellow to this blue where I am right now yesterday and today. So that's what I have done recently. Oh, and like I said, I don't know. I think this is size 1.5 needles. These are Knit Picks fixed circulars, 32 cord. Because I don't like anything bigger than 32. And it is with Into the World Captain Tight Pants. This is my favorite color ever. I love this yarn. It's so pretty. Mm-hmm. There's bits of fluff from my bag. And it's currently living in my girl cave bag. Is that what it is? I was afraid I was lying. Because everyone in Pocket like, this is my girl cave bag. Check it. And I was like, maybe I don't have any of her bags and I'm just totally lying to everybody. But no, it has the button it totally says. Yeah. I told you, head colds. It's one of my many cat bags because when she had her little fundraiser for her kitty cat, I kind of went overboard twice. I get addicted when they say things like bidding, and And then sometimes I was that person who would upbid everybody's. There was a bag I really wanted, and I had it bid up crazy high. Then when I was outbid, I'm like, screw that, I'm going to buy 2 cheaper ones for the same price. I did. I like to bid on things. You want to do the next work in progress? Because the rest of mine's yarn, regular yarn.
Want to show your spool that you just did?
No, I'm going to wait. Let's do knitting and crochet things first.
Okay,
I pretended the other day when I made this giant list, I've completely mapped out knit-alongs for the rest of the year because I had a crazy moment yesterday. And then
keep losing my needle.
I reorganized how I wanted this podcast structure to go. But I didn't tell Dory, I just started.
We actually hadn't seen each other in what? 2
weeks.
2 weeks. It was she took me to lunch for my birthday.
Because her birthday was she was doing something on a Friday night kind of thing. And my
birthday was on a Friday night.
And the bad thing about her birthday is it's the day for my husband's birthday. And it's like, and it's like I had these plans, but she texted me, she goes, hey, on Friday we're doing this. And I'm like, crap, I have work stuff until I don't know, it started at 7, so I wasn't sure when it was going to end.
It wasn't too much. It was just dinner.
But by the time I got done, it was I would have had to drive halfway across the city, and so
the traffic that we had that night was horrible.
It was the day back after the last freeze, and so they shut down bridges.
My drive from work to my house is 15 miles, maybe 20 at the most, and it took me 2.5 hours to get home.
Yeah. So it would have been horrible trying to get down there and then back up. And
Yeah.
so we went out to lunch the next day instead for her birthday. Or 2 days later, I guess. Even on Sunday, so.
But, well, I will show
Yes.
my socks first.
Things with yarn. Pick something with yarn, then I'll do the next one. Trade off.
I finished, long time ago, back October, I was doing a pattern for socks. It was fishnet socks, popcorn balls. It was yellow, orange, and white. I finished them, but I wore them. I finished them a long time ago. I just kept forgetting to bring them. And then I wore them last week, so they're dirty, so I couldn't show them to you.
I feel like you showed them done. Or maybe you were almost done.
I was almost done. I was done with one and almost done with the other, and then I finished it, and then, but I decided I wanted to do another pair of socks. So I got out my Ghoulish from Crafty Girl, from Dana. And
Unwind Yarn Company.
Unwind, yes. Unwind Yarn Company. She got it from Saf, Ashley.
Yes.
2 years ago. And so this is her Ghoulish. Oh, I loved it as soon as I saw it. And I knew as soon as I saw it.
I want to say it's the Journey sock base. I don't know what she calls it.
That I wanted to do this pattern by Cookie Egg called Devon and with those socks. And the first time I tried to do it, I was having problems with the yarn overs and the knit two and the slip knits, and then I did that last one that had a little bit of lace in it, and I figured out how yarn overs and knit two togethers work. So I came back and I attempted, and I got it. So this is the pattern called Devon, and you can see that it's got kind of a little bit more intricate than what I used last time, and I'm liking it. I did the ribbing differently than I did on the last socks. I like my ribbing to be a little bit more, because I found I kept pulling my socks to get them to stay up.
I wonder if the gauge is too loose.
I tried something different. I wanted these to sit higher up on my leg, so I did a size 3 magic loop, because I don't have DPNs in the size 3 magic loop, so I could get them to go around my calf where I like my socks to fall. I like my socks up a little higher. And then I switched to, I think these are size 1s.
Those are pretty big for 1s. Maybe 2s.
I don't know.
Because look how big they are compared to mine.
What are yours?
Mine are like 1.5s.
I don't know, they look smaller to me.
I don't know.
I don't remember the, I know they're a whole size, and they were smaller than what I normally knit with. Because I got it from Hobby Lobby, and Hobby Lobby didn't have half sizes.
Yeah.
So, I know they're a lot smaller than my
They weren't
3s.
2 millimeter, were they?
They just have marks. 1, 2, 3. They didn't have the millimeters. I know they're smaller than my size 3s.
Yeah.
Definitely smaller. But, so I switched to this anyway. And because I liked the foot and the leg ankle area to be a little bit tighter. So I switched, and it's going along. I'm on almost done with my second pattern repeat. There are 4 pattern repeats. It's 18 rows the pattern is, and then you do 4 repeats with a 5 row starting. What do you call it? Setup. 5 row setup, and then 18 row for the pattern. So I like it.
You can always add an extra repeat too if you want to get extra height on your socks.
Yeah.
I don't know how close you get to running out of yarn with yours.
Actually, I have found with the last couple of last couple of socks I have a lot of yarn left over. I'm like, not enough to make another pair of socks.
Actually, you want to check sometimes, because sometimes a 50 grams, well, yeah, it won't be 50 grams, but sometimes you can get footies without the, like you can make feet. Or you can just save and make like Frankenstein socks and just use bits and pieces from a bunch of different ones.
I put it, because I wore the ones that I had made, the fishnet socks, and I had forgotten how much I like wool socks. I'm like, oh, these are so comfortable. And so I'm like, I'm going to have to start making more. And then I'm thinking about all this sock yarn that I have. I've got the one that we dyed and you gave me.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
I'm like, I I could totally do a pair of socks with those because I was trying to think outside the box of besides just doing socks with sock yarn. But then I'm like,
The socks are awesome. Yeah, I get like that too.
I think I'm gonna make socks. And then maybe save my extras and see what I've got. See how my colors match to see what I can make.
One thing that like Knit and Wolf and a bunch of other folks are making is they're making little mitered square blankets out of their leftover sock yarn. So they're making little blankets with little triangle bits.
Oh, there it is. I thought I lost a needle.
My couch eats needles, watch yourself. I've had many a crisis where I've screamed and cried and threw a tantrum because the couch ate my sock needle. I never got it back. So.
I definitely can say that I prefer, when it comes to knitting socks, I prefer DPNs as opposed to the Magic Loop because my 3s were circular. And actually, and it might even be that I just, when I do, because a couple of my others, I'm trying to untangle my circulars. I don't know. That's just too much for me to mess with. I actually like mine to be really, when I've done, that's how much I like.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
That's
that's
too
how
little
much
for me.
I like. Because the first pair I just grabbed, the first time I was buying circulars to do socks, I just grabbed what they had. And I think I had about that much, and that's how much I like. This is too much. It gets in my way. I almost threw my socks across the room because
See, I use ones that big when I'm doing like 2 at a time, but I can't stand 2 at a time because it takes forever.
Forever, yeah.
And I end up with 2 balls of yarn and 2 needles and 2 everything else, and it gets really, it's just annoying.
Okay, and so my next project, now that I spent an hour talking about a pair of socks.
I like this.
Really? Because you normally don't like ponchos.
Oh, I don't like ponchos. That was a blanket. Dang, I don't like it now.
I was going to say, you don't like ponchos.
I hate ponchos.
Love ponchos. I love ponchos. Ponchos are my favorite, and she hates them. She hates it when I wear mine.
I like decorative blankets, and I was like, oh, that looks like an awesome blanket, kind of like.
You could turn it into a blanket.
I could. I like the colors.
Going back to that very first magazine, crochet magazine that I had purchased, it's in the same magazine as this one was in. There was a poncho that I absolutely adored, and it was actually using trim, showing you that you could use trim throughout a garment as opposed to just at the bottom, and it was a poncho with different colors. And it's in the progress. I've kind of put it aside because it got too big for me to carry around. It's too big for me to travel with because it doesn't fit in. This fits in my bag, but none of the yarn because you're trading off yarn. And basically the way it works is you've got your color, your main color that you're using, and then your trim. And when you knit or crochet a few rows, and then you're supposed to put it onto a safety pin. I just make a big old loop because I don't have safety pins.
She lives dangerously.
Yeah. And then you switch to your trim color, do your trim, and then you go back to your loop, and then you finish. And this isn't quite the color scheme that they had, but it's the yarn. I was like,
Didn't you buy those for you to make a pillow?
no, I bought these, the pinks and the greens and
Where's green?
Well,
there's green. Okay,
that
like a
kind
mint.
of, yeah, minty. I bought that for a baby blanket for a friend that I was using. She wanted to do less traditional girl colors, and so I got some pinks and greens and browns, and I did kind of a woodland, like the owls. She liked owls, so the colors
I
you see the
remember
owls
that
in,
trip to store.
And the brown and this teal are from another pillow pattern that I bought.
I
that
remember-
you
I remember
were with
these-
me, yeah. And then so is the purple.
These adventures. I'm like, I knew some of them were from that.
But I was like, I have all this stash yarn. I'm like, surely I have got colors that I can coordinate, you know. So I rated my stash, and I'm just doing whatever color pattern, whatever, you know. It's like, I think I'm gonna add some of this now. I think there's about 7 different colors that I'm using. And
I'm all about using stash and repurposing
I think
stash.
I am a quarter of the way through. I'm modifying it just a little bit. They use a size J hook, but the girls are a little bit bigger than the size that they've knitted or the size that it's written for. So I actually, as I switched my main colors, I increased my hook size to get it over, and then I will decrease once I go back so that I don't look like I'm wearing a tent. So that there's a little bit of shape to it.
Tents are
Otherwise,
not
if I
good.
stay with the, because I think I'm on a K right now, is what I'm using. This next row, I'm using a K. And if I stayed with that, it just would, just basically a shelf.
Like Moo style.
Yes, and you had to be very petite for muumuus to look good on you, and muumuus would not look good on me. So once I get over the bust area, I will decrease slowly. I'm not just going to jump straight down to the size that I was using. I will decrease so that I have a little bit of a shape to the poncho. So, and I like it. I really like the way it's coming along. I haven't worked on it in a couple of weeks because most of my knitting or crocheting I do at work, and it's just too much for me to bring.
I haven't done any at like work in forever. I mean, I guess it's good because I'm working at work, right?
Well, if I get to stay in my classroom and I don't get pulled to go to the infant room, then I have a 2-hour stretch.
Yeah, you have nap time.
So.
Which is nice. My high schoolers would like nap time. They're kind of disappointed that they don't get nap time anymore, which I think is hysterical. At least the older ones appreciate it.
And I don't have any hand spun that I'm spinning. I did. My boyfriend came home for Christmas on Christmas break, and he actually asked about my spinning and how you work with a spindle. So I broke out some of that sheep we bought, or some of that wool that we bought from that lady who does her own sheep.
Greasy sheep? That's just greasy.
I
think I washed it. I washed it like 50 times, and I swear that water was still cruddy.
So I just grabbed some of that, and I showed him how to, but I didn't have the intentions of actually wanting to spin it. It was, rather than pull out some of the pretty decorated stuff that I would be breaking apart, and then I just decided.
You're like me, where you're like, I have a project. I don't know what the project is, but I can make something from this. I'm not going to use it to show you because I like this, and you can't have it.
Yeah, pretty much. And that, everything else is in braids, and this was just shoved into a bag, so it was really easy to pull a chunk off.
Exactly.
And I let him attempt it, and he didn't do quite so bad either. So perhaps maybe I can, when he finishes with school and he's with me for a decent amount of time, maybe I can get him into spinning.
How much more time does he have with school?
He's got another year, but he hopefully will be home for summer. It depends on where he gets, because I told him he needs to get an internship over the summertime.
Yeah.
His major is in business management. So I told him he needs to get a major or an internship over the summertime so he can start getting experience for when he graduates.
I think my husband
to
had
get
to
a
do an
job.
internship his senior or junior year at college.
They don't have to do an internship.
Oh, wow. Yeah, my husband had to, and they helped them find.
He was a science major, though. Computer science, right?
Networking?
Networking, yeah. Usually they have to.
It's not computer science. Wait, is it?
Usually
Maybe.
any kind of technology, I think.
Computer information systems. It was not a computer science. 'Cause
CIS.
It was CIS. It was not CS. I got corrected a lot. Sorry, had a flashback.
But that's it.
Yeah, I am still working on the blanket. It is on size 3.75 millimeter, which is a 5 US. It's on my 16 because it was the only cord I had available. That wasn't like 50 inches, which is really annoying. But
Can I see the size of your needles again? That's the size I like to use for my...
a 5?
No.
Oh, the cord? Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh, 16 inch? You see, I can't do socks on 16 inch because I can't magic loop them enough for me. It drives me completely crazy.
Might have been 18 inches that I had.
Or 24. 24
No,
is,
I think 24 was because I was actually a small. I have the needles that I have are small. Well, that I used to have because they snapped because they were bamboo.
That's true. But I started square number 2 last time. Then I was gonna look up what square I was on when I showed you last time, but I didn't, and I can't remember. I want to say I was on like this one right here, or this one. I was on like 3 or 4. I was like, look, I've gotten this many done. Well, right now I am on square number 11. So I have finished like 2 whole columns It goes this way. And then it comes back here and goes back this way. And then I did this one. Like literally, I think I have done at least 5 of these in the last week. This is my main project I'm working on because I'm trying to get it done out of my house. But I love this thing and I love the colors on it. And this square is actually kind of nice because it's easy, because it's not like switching around which color you start with on each mitered square. And it's super easy to memorize, and it's super easy once you know what you're doing and getting going. One thing I check the pattern for is which color to put where. And as you can see, I still have like a bajillion ends. 4 ends per square.
Eesh.
Guess who's putting that off for a long time? They're going to get this blanket probably on their 1-year anniversary. And she's been sent pictures throughout the process because I've got to the point where I'm just like, yeah.
She knows she's
My
getting
husband
it,
told
so-
her.
Oh.
So since he told her she was getting a blanket, because, you know, and she appreciates hand knits and things like that. So when we realized it was going to be a while and she wasn't going to get it at Christmas, he's like, yeah, you're getting a blanket. Ashley's knitting it. It's taking a while. The other day he went, well, how big is it going to be? I don't understand how big it's going to be. Because I think he thought I was making like a throw. Because I showed him the one that was finished, which is 1/4 of the blanket. And he went, but that's huge. You mean there's 4 of those? And I went, I told you. I mean, yeah, it was a $30 kit. I don't know what he thought I was making. Probably because $30 for yarn is usually cheap as far as I'm concerned. So it's like we're doing our taxes. And he came down and goes, you know, you can count hobby stuff if you itemize and whatever.
What?
There's a spot for hobbies on our taxes. He goes, did you spend X amount on your hobbies this year? And I went, if I looked, no, I did not spend over that. It was like $1,800 or something that you had to spend. And I'm like, some years I could probably get pretty close. It depends. Is makeup defined as a hobby? If we combine makeup and yarn, then yes.
What
I probably
does this have to do with, exactly how does it reflect on our taxes? Because if you get quite a bit back, then, you know, spending $1,800 on hobbies might be worth it.
And then I said, do you want me to work for that next year? And he went, no. I'm like, oh, okay. No, I was actually pretty conservative this year. Didn't get to go to SAF, which, you know, put a little damper on my spending. So that's what I have done on this. Like I said, this is like the main thing I'm working on all the time. And I still love it. I've got to get it done. She's so popular.
Well, that's Shanley. Hold on. Continue. I will just, pardon me while I send a text here. I'm meeting up with somebody later and need to.
I have also been working on, I mentioned it like probably back in October. That's how long it's taken me to get through this. And she knew she wasn't going to get it back until the spring. We talked about it because she told me she didn't plan on having it until the spring. She figured, you know, time and such. But I have been working on this fleece that I got at, well, I didn't get it. A member from my guild bought it and gave it to me to spin for her. She's going to give me some cash, whatever, you know, when it's done. And this is a merino and angora blend. I don't know what kind of blend. I thought it said on the bag, but I'm not seeing it now. And there's also a bit of dyed mohair mixed in with it, so the pops of color you see are mohair. And overall, it's super soft. It came from, you know, a farm type thing that's kind of local. And so you know how farm kind of stuff can be. There's the occasional veggie matter. There's the occasional random buggy, but they're not yarn-eating buggies.
Bugs?
Not yarn-eating bugs, so.
No, that's why I was like, ooh, what kind of buggies?
I don't know. If I show you, I'd be like, yeah, that's a yarn-eating bug, and then I'll never want to, like.
I don't know what yarn-eating bugs look like, so I wouldn't be able to.
I have had
that.
issues in the past with carpet beetles, so I have this, like, fear of bugs. Now, I will say nothing in this is alive, nothing in this is in larvae state, so I have no worries for it. But that's why I leave it in a bag far away from my other stash. And that's why I like to let it sit for a little bit. So if there is anything in there, it hatches out and I can find it. Although the nice thing is when it's in fiber and you do have issues with like a moth or like a beetle or something weird that does eat yarn and it's in your fiber, if it breaks the fiber, I mean, you can wash it out. You can, you know, hold it together and you can usually spin most of it. Or if it cuts through your yarn, it's kind of hard to join it back together and it kind of just destroys everything. So I would much rather have an issue with a bug in fiber than a bug in yarn. Because the fiber can be fixed so much easier. But I started spinning this past week, and here's where it is now.
I like that.
I wonder if the autofocus is off. It may be. But it's getting pretty thin. I am spinning it woolen style. She wants to make a like shawl out of it. And it's funny because we were sitting at the event and she's like, see that shawl over there hanging down? I want that. Think that would be hard to spin? And I went, no. Because essentially the shawl she wanted was a large version of a, I'm completely blanking on the pattern now. Age of Brass and Steam. It's a large version of that shawl. So it's basically all knits, you know, purl the back rows, and then occasionally you throw in like a purl row, yarn over, you know, whatever, purl again, and then keep back to knitting. It was the same exact pattern, except it had like a garter border or something, or like a yarn over border, which honestly, very easy to add. So that's what she wanted. And she's a very new knitter, so she wasn't really sure how hard the pattern would be. She just saw this one finished and liked it. And I said that we could find a way to make it work. I mean, it wouldn't be hard. So that's what I'm working on. And it's nice because it's white, but it also has bits of color as well. So it's not like, you know, it's not too white to where it's going to show dirt a lot. And it's got some variation to the white. My autofocus must be like off. Or I'm just not holding still. I'm not holding still. So that's what I'm working on. Three main projects: a spinning project, a knitting project, and a handspun knitting project. Do you have anything upcoming that you're planning on?
Not really. I mean, I have yarn in my D-stash, or my yarn in my stash that I want to use. Did I just do there?
Haven't picked a project?
Yeah, I haven't picked a project. I was actually, one second here. I was going to make, I'm still carrying it around in my pocket. I have awfully big pockets if I can fit this in there. I was going to make a pair of fingerless gloves, mitts with these, with this. And I almost thought about doing a pair of socks with this. This is my hand spun.
It's pretty.
Well, the thing is, this was supposed to be for Shanley. I'm just having a hard time. I have a whole nother 8 ounces.
Oh, okay.
A whole nother 4 ounces of this stuff that I could spin up.
Oh, for yourself, yeah.
Yeah, but because I was looking at this and I thought these would be a really pretty pair of socks. Because I saw some patterns in here that I was
would.
I just don't know that I was consistent enough with the thickness for the socks.
You don't need to be that consistent.
So
it'll be fine.
Because I haven't done a pair of socks with hand spun yet.
Those will be fine. It's consistent enough.
So, and I thought about
they may be a little thicker socks than you're used to, because I know yours, but that'd be good for you. Probably like it because you get cold sometimes a lot.
My feet are always cold. Very seldomly do I ever take my socks off because my feet are hot.
It'd be like house socks.
I think that happens like maybe once in 5 years, So, but I don't have, other than patterns that I see that I would like to do, they're like, oh yeah, I'd like to do that sometime. I don't really actually have anything planned.
Yeah, I have one thing planned, and like I was saying earlier, it was another cloche. And it's more because the fact that, the Knit Girls are having their, like, SSK knit along thing. And I had until the end of February to make something by Amy Herzog? I don't know. Herzog. And, end of February, right? And of course today's like the 16th, so I have 12 days. So I need to do this. I need to do this today. Let's be honest. I need to start today, get it done, and just be over with it. So I went and looked for patterns by Amy Herzog, and of course most of hers were sweaters. And I love sweaters. I don't have time to knit a sweater with this blanket going on right now, so that ain't going to happen. Part of the reason I want to get the blanket done is so that I can make other things like sweaters. So I went and looked at, smaller things like hats, and there weren't very many that screamed to me, but this one did.
That's very cute.
Yeah, it is the Fellows Cloche, and it is done in worsted weight yarn on size, I think it's 4 and 5s. Yeah. 4 or 5 double pointed needles or size needed to obtain gauge. So I'll probably do it on double pointed. Maybe if I need to check my double pointed. I have a ton, but I may do it on double pointed or magic loop depending on what I can dig up needle wise. But I think that's what I'm going to start today. And I've already figured out yarn because I don't have much worsted wise, but I do have some Highland Handmaids that I bought back to make around Halloween for a chemo hat. I bought 2 because I couldn't figure out what I wanted, and I ended up keeping this one for me. But 60% merino, 40% bamboo. 300 yards, so it's worsted. It'll work out well for this. And of course, you know, I bought this to make a chemo. Well, I had a family member who had chemo, so I bought 2 skeins of yarn to figure out what I wanted to make. Figured I'd keep the other one and maybe make an extra hat for the future. And then, of course, I had another family member and then a friend diagnosed in the last week. So I'm making something else. My friend may be getting a shawl, though, because, you know, she would rather have a shawl, I'm sure. So this will be one of those. And it's a little more toned down. It's not as bright as it looks on the screen, but, you know, lighting can be weird. And the setting I have the camera on, of course, makes this a little brighter, but it's still an awesome color. Anything else project-wise you have to talk about?
Nope. I think I just dropped a stitch somewhere, so I've got to go back and figure that one out.
As you guys know, our current knit-along happening is a finishing up objects knit-along. So if it's an old spinning project, if it's an old knitting, crochet, as long as it was started before 2014 and you have finished it in either January or February, you get bonus points. Of course, anything you finish, you get to count as points as well. And all the details are over there in that thread. So if I finish the socks I'm knitting, I get points for all the yards I knit, plus I get the bonus because I started them last year. If I finish this spinning, I get points for all the yards I spun, but I do not get bonus because I started this, you know, during 2014. Make sense? When I finish this hat, I will get the points for the yardage, but not the, you know. So it's a way to encourage you to basically knit this year, or crochet, or spin, or whatever it is that you do. So make sure you're keeping a thread there. We are going to use probably one thread, and we're going to keep it going throughout the year, just to make my life easier. So when when March and April starts up, we're going to have a new one, so you're going to keep adding to the list of things finished during the year. And, you know, you'll have a spot for March and April bonus that happened there. And the theme for March and April is going to be spinning. So if you finish 4 ounces, you get a bonus point. If you finish 4 ounces but it was on a spindle, you're going to get 2 bonus points because spindles take forever. And I feel that all the spindlers we have deserve a little bit of extra points. So if you don't spin at all, you can't get bonus this month, but you can get points for, you know, knitting and crocheting as per usual. So please make sure you're updating the thread. You still have chances to win in things. I did go through and pulled several things for prizes this year. I didn't bring them down because I knew, you know, we have lots to talk about and probably not time to go through that. But I am going to post pictures up in the group for the first round of prizes. And you'll have like 3 things to pick from. And then when someone picks one, I'll put something else up in its place. So it's going to change and revolve as the year goes on. So make sure, you know, you keep posting in there. If you want a prize in the last knit along, the slacker butt that is me still has not mailed those. And I completely forgot until I walked by my office today and saw them sitting there. And I went, oops. So I'm going to make sure those are packaged up this weekend. I actually am on a mission to clean my craft room and office today and Monday, since, you know, there's a holiday tomorrow. So my mission is to get that cleaned.
Oh yeah, that's right. You're out of school tomorrow, right?
Yep. So I'm going to clean that / you know, mail stuff. It probably won't go out till Tuesday, but and that's the other issue is one of the prizes has to go to like Australia. So I have to go when the post office is actually open. So I'll probably just take it with me to work and have to stop by after work. So it'll get done this week. Promise. I promise for real. Not like the promise that I usually promise where I forget. I promise. So that's what's happening. And so like I said, the next one is spinning related. I have a few projects in mind. I want to go through and pull out like 4 or 5 different braids of fiber and like break them all down into little increments. Because Diana Knittables had a spin along thing where they took like 2 ounces of different colors and you spun them and then you plait them together. Mm-hmm. I want to make a giant freaking color wheel of that. Where I have like 5 different braids and I break it down into like 4s and I if I have blue and red and I break it down, I'll have like one skein that's all blue and then I'd have a skein that was half blue, half red. And then a skein that was half blue and half whatever color's over here. You know, that's what I'm going to do the next 2 months. It's going to be crazy. So we'll see if that actually happens. I'll probably finish it in December. Let's be honest. I have 10 spinning projects I think right now that are started. So who knows? But if you want to get things off your bobbins now in preparation for spinning for March and April, of course those bonus points are only going to happen if you started it and finished it in March and April. So, you know. might be the time to get stuff off the bobbins. Because then you get the bonus points now for finishing things in January and February. Yeah, I'm rambling now. So that's it for today. If you have any questions, feel free to message me on Ravelry or Instagram. I am on Instagram sometimes. It's like a once every other day kind of thing right now. But if you need anything, feel free to get in touch. Show notes, if there are any, and there usually aren't, you'll find them on the blog. There's also podcasts on the blog, and they're on iTunes and all that good stuff. So again, thanks for watching. I am Spun Too Tight.
Hop stitching away.
Bye.